Okay, finally in the door. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. Burnout mode sets in from time to time, but hey, they say the show must go on, right? How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host Xander, and welcome to This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And today we're going to be exploring the preferences of uh, older women in the dating field. And I mean, we're gonna be going over a lot of things that are typical to what we've been talking about in the past, but we're also going to touch base on some more interesting factors that not too many people really consider. When we think about, well, before we get started, I just want to remind you guys to like and subscribe, join the membership, follow the channel. If you're on Twitter, make sure that you hit the follow button. We're trying to meet that goal that you see at the bottom of the screen, where we're trying to cross over a few 100,000 followers. We aim high, but it is a expectation of ours that we're trying to meet. That way, we can try to do things better with our streaming. So, since while we're working on that, we appreciate your support. You guys that are on Twitter, um, we want to appreciate you guys for coming to the show. Also, you guys hit the follow button. We got some stipulations over there that we're trying to accomplish. And Twitch, you guys are very loyal. You guys come in on a regular basis. If you haven't hit the follow button, if you are not a return follower, then please hit that follow button on Twitch. And then the rest of you guys, as you come in, make sure that you guys show us that support. We have stores on both Twitch and YouTube right now. We're trying to get them on Twitter and TikTok. But while we're working on that, if you want to go to our merchandise stores, we got over 150 plus items in the stores. You can go over there and check them out on our YouTube platform. And we have discounts based on admission levels. So for those of you that come in on the lowest levels, we have the lowest discounts. For those of you that are coming in on the highest levels, we have the highest discounts. It varies based on the tier system. So if you want a higher discount, you get a higher membership. And these are promo codes that are going to be issued out throughout. So the time sensitive promo codes. So basically, based on the membership level that you are at the time of the request for the promo code, will be the amount that you will receive, will be the value of which the promo code will be. So you can discuss that with us more in our community chat on YouTube. For those of you that are interested in that, the rest of you, of course, will pay full price. So if you buy it off of the Twitch, but you have the membership on YouTube, you can still get the promo code. You just have to contact us about that promo code ahead of time, before the purchase, not after. Beyond that, we have affiliate merchandise products throughout the show, throughout the program that you will see. I encourage you, if you're on YouTube, you'll see it. If you're not on YouTube, you won't. So I encourage you to take a look at us from the YouTube platform at least once while you're going live and get a chance to see some of the affiliate products that we have, or check some of our post-release videos to give you a understanding of some of the stuff that we've got going on as far as merchandise, memorabilia. Beyond that, we have let's see, what else do we got going on? We got the shows going live 7 days a week. So this part of the reason why my burnout move. So we got 7 days a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. So if in event that you have time to make it to the show one day out of the week, I encourage you to come as many days as you can. If you have a topic that you would like to talk about, you can always interject in our current discussion, as long as your topic is appropriate, and we will gladly entertain your topic and then redirect ourselves back to the main topic of the show. However, we also would start up a show based on your topic. So if you give us a topic, that you'd be interested in talking about, do some digging about it, and then come back and have a nice little powwow with you about your topics of interest, so that we are not just talking about a linear fashion where we actually talk about this, that, and everything in between. We just primarily have relationship-based discussions uh, throughout the week, or the weekend actually, and then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday we have current events and other stuff that we talk about in addition to the relationship topics that we primarily talk about on the weekends, and our members only shows that direct ourselves towards the things that the fans want to talk about on the weekends. So without further ado, since we've kind of covered our morning announcements, I believe I've covered everything. For those of you that are on TikTok, over here on the bottom, I guess that would be right side of the screen for me, but it's mirrored, so the bottom left side of the screen for you holding the phone. Either way, over here on this corner over here, that's being pointed in the right direction. That is the link that takes you straight to the YouTube page, so you can hit the subscribe button and then come back to the show, and you'll be able to you can still watch us from Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, or any other platform that we're streaming live on, but you would also get that notification 30 minutes before airtime reminding you that we're going live on the show. So we encourage you guys to do that as well. So if you like us on multiple platforms, you always get a heads up, and whatever platform you're on at the time, you can always swing back through and give us a shout out. So yeah, that covers all of our bases. Now we're here. So when we start talking about the women in the older women in the dating pool, what quantifies the older women in the dating pool? Now, statistics show that middle-aged women, the older women, because when we think about older women in our middle ages, we think about 50s, 60s, 70s. The older you get, the more you qualify as the definition of an older woman. So we have 50s, 60s, 70s. And if we're talking about those 50s, 60s, and 70s, older women are able to find at least hookup culture, if not a level of companionship. Typically, these older women that are primarily just looking for a companion, once that woman reaches that level, her mentality changes, and it goes from being an overly dominant, over aggressive female to a more cooperative partnership, where the expectations of survival is not a stipulation for a man to engage her. And when that happens, you typically see the women are more susceptible to lowering their expectations from unrealistic expectations to realistic expectations. When this happens, the women are able to then find themselves somebody that could partner with them that is more on their level. Real quick, I just remembered something, that if you guys have comments, you can feel free to put those comments into the show. I just dropped the link down below for Twitter and YouTube. So that was one thing I forgot. I always knew there's something. That's why I don't get on Mr. Pibbs when he forgets them, because there's so many things we got to talk about. Oh, and then the other thing, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. The super likes and super emojis. If you guys like the show, you like what we're presenting, you're reasonably entertained by it, you can always send us a super likes or super emojis that is supporting the platform, or special thanks donations to the platform to help support the platform. You guys can also do that on Twitch and TikTok in various ways. As I figure that stuff out in great detail for all of these extra platforms, I will update you guys on that probably have it going across the bottom of the screen. That way we kind of keep the ball rolling. Anyway, the older females would be able to interact more effectively once their expectations for financial stability as a decision making make or break situation in a relationship subsides. So with that being one of the core factors in the dating game that has negatively impacted social interaction between men and women, it is widely understood. It is widely understood when a female is able to find a more suitable partner in those higher ages. Now, lower ages, the lower ages of older women would be more to the magnitude of the 30s and 40s. Now, those women, their preferences are a lot different. So, from the 18 to, or actually, truthfully, from 16 to like 35, the preferences of women is more is less on the expectation of financial stability, where she's engaging with the man for only entertainment is actually what they're doing in the younger ages. But as they get older, the criteria for financial stability becomes more dominant. And the older the woman gets, even though the less valuable she is as she gets older, the older she gets, the more her requirement for financial stability becomes. So in her middle ages, she's looking at, and this would be considered an older woman, older than 25, older than 27. These women that are specifically expecting, and in some situations needing, that financial security, are going to make I have to now redefine it as more of a reasonable expectation of financial security, but it's an unrealistic expectation for financial security at the same time. And let me explain to you why. Now, the inflation has comfortable standards of living at upwards of 80, 90,000 a year. When you start talking about starting a family, 90 to 100,000 a year. So this isn't just a one-person income. A one-person income could survive off of 65,000 in some areas. A two-person income, if you're getting the bare minimum and you're not dealing with any travel, you're not dealing with any expensive gifts, you're just basic food, clothing, transportation to and from the doctor, transportation, that just the bare minimum, maybe a little cable, some internet, some Netflix, stuff like that, phone bills, but not too much other stuff. In that situation, you are looking at meeting the basic needs. You could probably survive off way less. But when you start talking about going shopping, when you start talking about frequently ordering stuff on Amazon, when you start talking about pay-per-view stuff, you start talking, and this is like on a regular basis kind of thing. This is like movies on demand, where you're just, every time you want to see a movie, you're spending $100, $200, $300 to watch movies. You talking about vacations, you're talking about trips around the world. The standard of living requirement goes up when you start talking about luxury cars, when you start talking about getting new cars on a regular basis, when you're buying more things than you need. That's when you start putting yourself in a position to have more of a need for financial coverage than what you would have in a situation where that wasn't the case. So when we think about the prioritization of financial needs in the younger ages, because you can see a younger couple in the younger ages doing things like cell phones, video games, gaming memberships. This is like Gen Z relationships, and then you still have the hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars on artificial additives on women that they feel like makes them look prettier, when just being yourself would have been fine enough. But we look at the fact that your desire to put these things on to appear more attractive dissipates over time. So you're not likely to as much have the desire to spend money on these things in your older ages. You get more of a mentality of it is what it is by the time you reach a certain age, and you just wear whatever. Still able to look attractive, but you're not putting all of your focus and your resources on looking attractive. And that's when your natural beauty can shine. Even if it is grays and wrinkles, your natural beauty can shine. Your wisdom can shine through your age, and you put on more of a natural persona as opposed to the overly gaudy look that is typically tempting of sexual attention. Now, that's one of the reasons why we have this issue, because the mid-level women, the middle-aged women are still considered older women. So the middle-aged women in their 30s, 40s, they really got their foot down. Like, you must make a certain amount of money. And the men are saying that that's unrealistic expectations, because we're looking at modern society that the 90% of out of the 99% of people that are not rich, we're looking at probably 20% that is above 100,000, 23% that's above 100,000. The other 76% below 100,000, still in like the middle class ranges between 50 and 70,000. You have 34% of that is below 50,000, and the women are expecting men to make over 100,000 to be deemed necessary. I mean, acceptable. And that's where the unrealistic expectations come from, because you have less than 34% of people that are making under 100,000, under 50,000. So over 50,000, but under 100,000 is not acceptable. And that's where the unrealistic expectations come from, because you're devaluing another 34% of people who you could actually match with that make more than 50,000 a year. You're a Miss Independent, successful boss lady. You got it on your own. You're making close to 40, 50,000 a year. But if you're dating a man that's making 55 or 60,000 a year, the two of y'all together would be making 80, 90, 100,000 a year. And that's the part where I say that it makes no sense in the dating game, where the women that are 27, 29, 35, 41, that are saying that the man must make 2 times more than the woman, 3 times more than the woman in order to be considered equal, because y'all don't even have, like, he's 3 times more financially stable. But there are some, and men date older women too. This is the funniest thing. Men do date older women too. The only difference is that because they date older women, the older women that are cooperative to the man's agenda, the older women that do not have overly exaggerated expectations, because the overly exaggerated expectations come from the desire for a man to be in the top 23 percentile, to be considered equal to the woman whose income that is not on the cusp of the halfway point. You know, that unrealistic expectation is no longer there. Now, as those women depreciate in their expectations of men, and they start being more realistic, they start being more in tune with companionship. The companionship are what men have been looking for the whole time. Yeah, that some men are looking for sex, but companionship is what the men were looking for the whole time. So once the women start being cooperative and start providing that companionship, that's when we have the understanding that that's when we have the understanding that we're able to match up with this woman. Now the difference is that when you're looking at the women that are in their late 30s, early 40s, they're crossing over menopause, they're not able to have children. The men have to wrap it around their minds that they're okay with not having any more children. And once that man reaches that point where reproduction is no longer a factor, that's when the man is capable of saying, okay, I can just deal with having her. So once the man's standards drops from the qualification of reproduction and the woman's standard drops from the qualification of financial status, then these two middle-aged or above middle-aged older people can partner together and work as a team to maintain a comfortable standard of living. Whether both of you work, whether he works more than her, whether she works more than him, doesn't really matter. If you guys are working together as a team, you're able to formulate a bond that should outweigh the test of time, but it typically takes a lot of time to get there and find that type of companion. So we wanted to brush across this particular topic this week because we have been talking on the podcast about how women have not been considered in the dating game when relationships are seeking reproduction. And because that would be a criteria for a lot of the younger men that are looking to start a family and start a lineage, that criteria would aid in our ability to be successful. And that would change the way women are seen. And that's one of the things that because reproduction is part of a man's expected value, that woman not being valuable because she has not met that qualification, because she's already past menopause, that would disqualify her from that expectation. That also, if a man whose expectations is that he wants to date a woman that doesn't have children because of the complications behind dating a woman that has children, a middle-aged woman that has 2 or 3 kids, while she might be a good person, she might have a good personality because she has these 2 or 3 obligations that are hard to blend in with. And if the guy blends in well with it, the fact is that now, if in the event the relationship breaks up, he has to now disseminate 3 extra relationships at the same time, because he has to all of the kids that he formulated bonds with, he's not going to have the right to continue to engage these children after the relationship falls apart. So that's another issue that, outside of the parenting aspect of things, that's also another issue that we have in the dating game that men have with dating women with children. So when we're dealing with those women that are middle age, the kids are grown, in college, the kid or just moved away, they're not living at home with mom, and the mom is trying to go out and date. Now you're almost like, the kids are almost like in-laws, they just it's only a thing. Like, this is just another adult that comes and shows up and makes sure that your girlfriend or your fiance is doing okay. It's not necessarily a scenario where, you have to deal with conflict. There are some conflictual kids, even as adults, but you don't have to deal with as much conflict. You don't have to deal with bitter rivals coming in and causing trouble in the relationship. And if mom is off to herself and the kids are off living their own life, even if they do come over with a not so positive attitude, because that does seem to be the case, that happens sometimes, they do happen with a not so positive attitude, we tend to recognize that as adults, some of us can actually talk that through and work it out where you guys will either have a positive relationship with the kids, or the kids just won't come over. That That's one of those things that you have to cross that bridge based on the family, because when you marry the woman, you marry the family. And that's something I want to talk about real quick. In dating, when we get involved with somebody, it has not been culturally emphasized in the United States that when you're dating this girl and you're dating this girl to marry, you are marrying her and her family. Now, some women will say that if they already have children, their children is their family. And if you're marrying her, you're marrying her family. Yes, but your children are a financial burden, that are an emotional attachment, that are also going to be extra attachments that I have to detach from if the relationship doesn't work out. But the other family members that are part of the family, these are family members where, if in the event that if in the event that the engagements work out and you guys lead towards a long-standing marriage, you're marrying the family. So if you have a middle-aged man or woman that's taking care of his elderly mom or father, and they're part of the family. The same way, if they have kids that they're taking care of, they're part of the family. So you have your in-laws living in your house with you. And that's not something that readily happens in the United States, but in other countries, it is heavily emphasized. But cousins coming over, uncles coming over, stuff to that effect is a thing. So when you marry the girl, if she has a close-knit family where family comes over and visits on a regular basis, then now you have to get used to all of these people that you don't know, where some of them might not like you, will come over to visit your wife. And you got to kind of screen that. But from the perspective of the women, men actually have, you will see men not having all of these extra family members coming over to the house on a regular basis. You will have them with one family member or maybe both of their parents that they're taking care of in their older ages. And that's what hinders their ability to venture off and do their own thing. Children have always been seen as a retirement plan. So when the parents get older, the kids take care of the parents. So that's one of those things where, as a middle-aged or older woman, when she sees that a man is capable of taking care of his mother in her older years, they typically judge how well he takes care of his mother as how well he would take care of her. And the ability to formulate companionship with somebody who puts in a lot of effort into seeing someone succeed is the most effective way to, get you a good companion. That's the best criteria to gauge them on. When you're dating somebody for their looks, you look and see what their mom looks like, because I mean, if you're dating a girl for her looks, her mom is the future of what she will look like. As mom ages is as the girlfriend ages, unless she gets into a catastrophic accident like Harvey Dent and changes her whole appearance. And likewise, the way a man treats his elders is going to be similar to how he's going to treat you. So if he's overly aggressive with them, then he's likely to be overly aggressive with you. So you're able to make that determination, that deciphering of those engagements. So once you and that's what I said before, when you're in these particular relationships and you're able to focus on other things, you're able to pay more attention to the things that really matters in a long-term companionship, not in a transactional financial relationship. In those younger years, though, those younger years that are dealing with those transactional financial relationships, you're going to have more people that are going to be hovering around your scenario, specifically because the finances look right. So the typically this is also going to be those women that are going to be hovering around the men, because you very rarely have men that are hovering around women because the women got money. the youth might do that, and that would be those young boys that might be 17, 18 years old, 15, 16 years old. They might hang out with girls that spend money on them. But as men, above the age of 18, 19, 20, we typically don't chase after women because men could care less if women have financial standings. So as we get further into the higher areas of financial stability, we actually start looking at those 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old men that are more financially stable because, we're making a lot of bad choices throughout our lives. As men, we rarely have male guidance. We rarely have male role models. We rarely have mentors that show us what not to do. So we have a 15-year, maybe 20-year at times, trial and error scenario. And we rarely put in effort to make change. And because of that, the men do not actually get their finances together until they are in their 40s. They don't, once they realize what the plan should be in their 30s, it typically takes them 10, sometimes 15 to 20 years to get there, which puts them at 45 and financially stable. Now that they're 45 and financially stable, now they're in a position where they are intertwining themselves with a girlfriend or a wife that would potentially be the future that they're going to live with under their now current financial stability. And that's where the differences come from, where the women are going to be picking and choosing the the women are going to be picking and choosing the men based on their stability. But the men will be picking and choosing women depending on their preferences as to whether or not they want a woman that can still have children versus whether or not they care if the woman cannot still have children. So that's going to be kind of, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about real quick considerations. Let's talk about considerations real quick. A man, when anybody, man or woman, you get on a dating platform, right? From a man's perspective, you're going to get you're looking at the more attractive woman to you. And women can say, yeah, that's subjective. Yeah, true. You can say that. But his stipulations are going to be younger because she's going to be more attractive in her younger years. Some are going to be okay with children, with her having children, especially if the children don't live with her. I mean, somebody else is taking care of them. But more often than not, they're not going to settle with a woman with children who has children, whether she has possession of them or not. They will, because a woman that has had children, that doesn't have possession of those children, has surrendered their children or have lost the right to have their children, which gives the subconscious question in a man's mind of, can she take care of children? And before we even answer that question, we're just like, nope, we're not going to deal with women with children. Now, a man that is less financially successful might say it's okay if she has kids as long as she cares about me and she's a good companion with me. The standards of a man diminishes with the lack of financial resources that the man is in possession of. But a man with a higher financial status is going to say to himself, I'm trying to find a chick that does not already have children. And then you would say, okay, since we're finding a woman that already does not have children, it's just like saying, I don't want a smoker. I don't want somebody who drinks. I don't want an excessive partier. Yeah, we could go out and have a good time every now and again, but I want one that's more responsible. If you're saying those things when you're looking at the women on a dating platform, you're reading their bio. So whatever they wrote down, if they filled out their bio, because if they hadn't filled out their bio, they're not really all that interested in the website, which means they're not going to be all interested into connecting with you on that website. But if they filled out their bio and you're reading their bio, your expectations might even be on your profile, but your expectations are going to be seen if you don't want a smoker and they smoke, if you don't want an excessive drinker and they drink moderately, if you don't want a woman with children and they have children, if you want a woman shorter than you and you're a short man, you're now saying that if you're shorter than a certain height, she has to be shorter than that. You're now changing your criteria. And when you're doing that on the dating platform, which is a lot different than it's a lot different than social interactions, because in person you will see someone and regardless of their height, the clothes that they're wearing and their body type, you're attracted to that person. It makes you come over and talk to them. Now, when they come and recognize you, your body type and your height, they will either accept you or, well, they will accept to communicate with you or reject communication with you before they get to know you well enough to determine if acceptance or rejection is a thing. Now, after that, you would be able to progress your conversation further if she accepts you for communication. But on a dating platform, though, if you think that her photo is attractive and she's going to put on her, it's different with women and men. A man is going to put on his best outfit and then he's going to put those photos up there. Some men might put a casual days outfit up there, but he will put himself in his best image and put it up there. It's all downhill from that photo. The women will put on their most attractive outfits. Some show more skin, some don't. Some take photos of themselves in their bathing suits at the beach. And they always have to give you some kind of back shot in their photo so that you can see a 360 from the photos as to what kind of girl she is. Because visual appearance wise, men are going to be into the image of the woman, both from the front and from the rear, and they advertise this in their photos. A man is looking for a woman with modesty will have no bathing suit photos in her profile. So the women that you see on the dating platform that are only fully covered, they only have like short sleeves or long sleeve shirts on, very little, if no cleavage, probably a turtleneck, pants, if not a long skirt that goes down to her knees, or a dress that goes down to her ankles, where even if she gave you a 360, she's fully dressed. These particular types of females are going to be the ones that are going to be more attractive to a man that is looking for a woman with modesty, because you're not showing off all of your bare assets on a social media platform where you have no idea who's looking at the photo and what they're doing with that photo. So when we talk about this on the dating platform, the older women that are going to carry themselves with a higher level of self-respect sometimes and higher levels of dignity sometimes, they're going to post more appropriate photos of themselves on the dating platform. They're going to be more descriptive and more detailed in their expectations on that dating platform, and they are going to be more willing to screen the people based on more realistic expectations. Now, one of the things that I've seen, and I've even done this before on those dating platforms, is just not put up a financial status up there. Just don't do it, guys. Because if they're looking for a man with money, you make $120,000 a year, you broadcast that you're making $120,000 a year. They're looking at your income and they're saying, "Oh yeah, I could deal with him." They're not judging you for your looks. They're not judging you for your personality. They're not judging you for your characteristics. They're looking at you can afford to take care of them, so they can deal with whatever you've got to offer, hopefully. wrong mentality to have. So take your income off the table and then say, okay, this is who I am, and this is what I like, and this is what I don't like. Now, the difference between our modern day dating sites and social interaction, you're going to get ghosted a lot more. It's a lot easier to ghost somebody on social media because you don't have time to get back to it. You don't make time to get back to it. You're not really interested in the person. Sometimes you connect to somebody that's outside of your area and you don't have the ability to readily go over there and meet that person. So it makes things harder for you to try to take a online dating site seriously, which makes it harder for the other person, regardless of whether it's a man or a woman, to be able to take that interaction with you seriously, because you're going to get ghosted and then you're going to try to double back in a few weeks or double back in a few days, and they've moved on because they've got so many people falling into their DMs that they're trying to screen the ones that actually match to their expectations while ignoring the ones where you match their expectations. So, and I'm going to say that again so you don't get confused. When we're on the dating sites, we're screening the people that match our expectations and rejecting the people that when we match their expectations. So you could have a harder time trying to find a match because the people that you match with, you may not be interested in, whether it's their looks, whether it's their age, whether it's the quantity of children, the habits they have. But you may not match with them because you might be too old, not have enough money, might not be the right body type, might not be the right skin complexion, whatever the case may be. Because that is a case when you're dealing with social media dating, because you're dating, you have the possibility to hook up with somebody in your neighborhood or somebody around the world. So while your options are wider in those situations, your expectations are still narrow. So there's still going to be like 1 to 5% of women that specifically meet your expectations when you start funneling to specifics, certain hair type, certain body type, certain height, certain number of languages that she can speak, what type of religion she has. When you start being extremely specific, you start eliminating all other possible prospects. And then you start having a select few, which bottlenecking it is good until you start recognizing that the 5, 10, 15 candidates that does meet your description, they may not be interested in you. They may be interested in somebody else. Could be something about you. You could be an animal person. They could not like animals. There could be a lot of things involved where it makes it harder for you to find that other companion. And that's one of the reasons why we try to think about broadening your horizons. And I'm not going to say to not stand on your non-negotiable expectations for behavior, because that's going to be something that I'm going to tell you guys to stand firm on in a long term. Fellas, when we're trying to find a female, you want to stand on your non-negotiable expectations for behavior. However, the characteristics of the person beyond their behavior, you could probably be a little bit more flexible on, depending upon your scenario. So you might be okay with a tall person. You might be okay with a different body type than your normal standard. Some of you might be okay with her having children. And the men are going to be more acceptable of women having children in the past, because the older you are as a man, the older the woman that you're dating, the more likely that child is an adult. So can a 40-year-old woman find a man who is not interested in having more children and she is a mother? Yes, because she could have had her children between 15 and 20, and those children could be grown between 30 and 35. So at 40, those kids would have left the house. They're living on their own. They're in their own relationships. So yes. And the older a woman gets, the more likely that she's not a virgin. And the older a woman gets, the more likely that she's had at least one child in her life. We should actually draw some statistics on that, so that and throw that out there into another one of our relationship shows, probably even later this week, where we can kind of evaluate that. But think about it. The older they get, the more likely they've had children. Well, the more likely they've had sexual engagements, and even older, the more likely they've had children. Now, the financial burden of the children are less dominating the older the children get. So you have to have the consideration, especially when they're in their teenage years, the changes in the children that you have to deal with as an adult. Those issues you may not want to deal with, and that may disqualify those women, even in their 30s and 40s, even if they have a good heart. The guy just doesn't want to get a woman with 3 daughters, 15, 16, 17, probably don't want to be involved in that scenario. But you actually could, if you were a single dad, actually could blend in with that. And curious, while I'm thinking about it, because single dads are starting to happen a lot more often these days. Have women thought about getting involved with single dads? What is your perspective on dating men with children? Since you don't have the financial burden, but his financial obligation does financially put the kids before you. So as a woman, how do you feel about dating a man that has a child? While we wait on you guys to provide us with those answers, I'm going to continue moving on. Men with children are going to be able to gravitate towards women with children. Men with a financial obligation to take care of their young is going to be more understanding of women with the financial obligation and time obligation to take care of their young. Men without children are not going to have that understanding, not all the time. The older women that do not feel like raising kids anymore are going to have that standard that a man with children is going to be off limits no matter how successful he is. But you also have that obligation to accept the family as they are when you start dating somebody that has kids, that has family members in their house, an aunt, an uncle, or whatever that needs to be nurtured at the house, home care kind of thing. So it's a interesting concept, because now when we're talking about middle-age dating, when we start talking about those senior citizen datings, where we start talking about more on the intimate connection side and less on how much money do you make side, less on what's your career size. Do you know that interaction from relationships in the older ages, because you got to remember, start retiring in their 60s and 70s. If you've got a consistent income coming in, women are less likely to care what your financial status is when they're in their 50s and 60s, because those women, they already got their financial security coming in on a regular basis. Your financial security is going to add to their financial security, so you're not going to be a financial burden on her. The money is going to keep coming in. So as long as the money keeps coming in, if there isn't an issue with you guys like being able to blend together, him having a job isn't even a thing. It isn't even a thing. So we're going to try to tiptoe around that, and then we're going to try to figure out, well, from the lower ages to those middle ages, the criteria for survival is actually more of an issue because it's harder to live. The retirement is set there and modifies itself for Social Security, disability stuff, modifies itself for inflation. So while you're not getting everything that you need, you are getting enough to get by. And if there's two of y'all living in the same house and y'all combine y'all's income together, y'all have more than enough to get by. Because if you barely have enough money off of one income, to deal with a single bedroom apartment, you get with a partner, y'all are sharing the same bedroom. Those prices for a single bedroom apartment with two incomes would be more manageable. Now, would we notice that there's going to be a few cutbacks with Project 2025? So unless you're veterans, your money's not going to be there like it used to be, but you will still be able to cross that bridge, and you will still be able to manage your standard of living by getting yourself a partner. So you would still have a less dominant survival criteria, because if you already have your own stable living situation and you meet somebody, now you guys are just hanging out. You guys are establishing a bond from hanging out. But if you guys moved into the same residence, then you will be pooling your money together to take care of each other's standard of living. And then since you both are at the house, you both are sharing the job duties at the house. So you still have somewhat of an egalitarian relationship, but the requirement for the masculine man to be masculine is going to be easily administered, because go talk to this guy about this thing is really all you have left to do, because you don't have to go to work. You're bored, so you're fixing stuff around the house. And if you're not physically capable of fixing things around the house, you hire somebody to come and fix it for you. You know, she will, if he doesn't cook, she will cook. They will take turns cooking, and they will establish a routine. She does some stuff, he does some stuff. There is never going to be a situation where she's going to always be expected to just do, and he's never going to have any expectations. So they find their balance in the older ages. But we also have those men that are more attractive, specifically because of their desire to reproduce. They're more attractive to those younger females, which means that the older women are less selective. And because the women are less selective, that's going to be when the expectations diminish. So when that female is highly valued by lots of men, she's being communicated to by lots of men, especially on social media. Her ego is highly inflated. So since there are a plethora of men that's reaching out to her in her social media platforms, that type of woman would be the type of woman that would higher expectations, not blend with a man's agenda, because his agenda doesn't matter. She's got 300 men in her DMs from yesterday's post alone, you know. But when she's less sought after in her society, that's when her expectations start to diminish, because the men are not even going to engage her for the sake of entertainment. She will actually have to reach out and put effort into engaging them, which would require her in her older ages to have lower expectations, more realistic expectations for the average man, because you got to remember that since 99% of us aren't making it, the 45% of men that are not making it, out of that 45%, because out of the 99% of men and women combined, it's half of that is about 45% is men, and 34% of men do not make $50,000, and you have another 30% of men, that 30 or 35% of men that do make more than 50,000 but make less than 100,000. So you're looking at, out of the population, you're looking at probably about 25 or 28% of men of the population that it's just not working out. So your criteria would be larger. Well, not your criteria, your options would be larger, because your criteria is smaller. And since your criteria is smaller, instead of having a bottleneck scenario where you must have guys that make a certain quantity of money, a certain status of job, get all the criteria down, and just, you know, fingers to the sky saying, yes, he treats me right, and that's what you want, then you'll be able to find a more suitable man, because the guys that are around the $50,000 range, more or less, give or take 5,000, if they're making like 42, 43, or, you know, 55, 58, they're still suitable men. Got to give those guys a chance. but you start changing your perspective and you start changing your mindset later on in your social interactions, because you're not being sought after as much. Now, men on the other hand, their positions are going to change. Men are going to become more desired by women. Men are going to be sought after by middle-aged women. They will have some women that are going to seek their attention in the they're going to have women that are in the younger ages between 20 and 25 that are still interested in levels of companionship where they understand that they would be getting taken care of by their man. They will still have those younger women that are going after older men, even though women that are middle-aged women that find it taboo for men to seek younger women. It's okay for her to find you, but it's not okay for you to find her. I don't understand that double standard, but that's the double standard that we have. And while we maintain and marinate on that double standard, we still have this confusion that for some reason, those middle-aged women that expect the man to adapt to her agenda, that those middle ages are going to be expecting us to find them more suitable when the men have to accept you as you are. Now, that particular mentality, regardless of what your age is always going to be catastrophic. Accepting me as I am, flaws and all, when I have a strict expectation for you that you must adhere to, no exception. That is a problem because it's a double standard. If you don't meet my expectations, I'm supposed to accept you anyway. But I have to meet your expectations unaccepted or no exceptions. So why would that be? If you have a height issue, I have a weight issue. If you have a financial status issue, I have a reproductive issue. If our standards are not flexible, if my standards are not flexible as a man, you're flexible. Your status must be flexible as well, because there's never a scenario where the man has to meet the requirement of the woman's expectations only. You as a person have to be suitable for that person, regardless of what your gender is. So as a man, you are supposed to be suitable for her the same way she is supposed to be suitable for you. If you are not trying to make yourself qualifiable for your partner, regardless of what your age group is, because being a partner in a companionship is the most important factor of the success of the companionship. But if you are not interested in being a partner in your companionship, then you have every intention of dominating this companionship and then trying to dictate terms for your own personal satisfaction. Does that make sense? And in that particular position, you are not acting in the best interest of your partner. So now you have friends with benefits. You have somebody you can hook up with that does have strong feelings for you, but you could care less what makes that person happy. And you put little to no effort into doing what it takes to make that person happy, which then ultimately makes those relationships last very short, 6 months to 2.5 years, 2 years, 9 months at max. And then you still have to get back out into the dating pool and try to see if you can find somebody else. One of the things that I can tell you is that regardless of what your age is, I strongly recommend that anyone who is in the dating field go out and find out what the other sex wants. The men already know. So ladies, this is your mission. Go out and find out what men want. Find out what your boyfriend wants, likes, needs. And then analyze, can you provide that on a regular basis? Whatever it is that he wants, it doesn't matter what he wants. And if you can provide that, then I would say go ahead, establish a long-term commitment with that guy, make it work. If you've already been in this relationship for a very long period of time and you don't want to sacrifice the relationship for the the sake that his expectations were originally not something you were intending on meeting. Look, now that you're in this relationship, if you're committing to this guy, this is the part where you decide as a woman to make it a point to give him his expectations, whatever those expectations are. Because if you're dating a good man, that good man, regardless of your age, that good man is going to dedicate himself into making sure that the things that you want and the things that you like and need and desire are all being met to the best of his ability. And since that is what you guys are doing or experiencing on a regular basis, you must make it a point to reciprocate that, to reciprocate the love and affection, to reciprocate the attention that's being given, to reciprocate the ability to work as a team, not as a dictatorship. And when you're capable of doing that, you're able to bring in a heck of a lot more into your relationship than what was once there. And those relationships are going to be more successful. Those relationships, while successful, will be more in tune with your happiness as well as your partner's happiness. And the both of you being happy with one another makes it a lot easier for you guys to connect. And it makes it easier for you guys to formulate stronger bonds. So if you take this into consideration, if you're not already an older woman, if you're still a moderate, reasonably aged woman, if you're in your 30s or younger, if you're, in your 20s, mid 20s, and you've come across a podcast and it just so happens to dawn on you, oh shit, all of the relationships I've ever been in, I never gave a shit about what made him happy. I just was there, right? When you have that epiphany, now's the time to change your train of thought and start thinking to yourself, if you don't have a man, you think to yourself, if I had a man, what would he want me to do? And how would he expect me to behave? And in your social interactions, in your social media engagements, do you a little survey. Find out what men want. Because men tell other men what women want. Men tell other men what women need. Men mentor other men as to what the average woman or above average woman is expecting from men. And all men who are intending to find that good quality of woman strive to meet those expectations. Women only tell other women they don't need men. Women only tell other women that they can do it all by themselves. Women never tell other women that if you're looking for companionship, you have to do what he wants to make him happy. If you find a man that will give you most of, if not everything that you want in the relationship, that reciprocation is required. And since that's not being passed down from woman to woman to woman, you have a larger quantity of women that are putting their foot down and making those demands, and a shorter quantity of women that is willing to make those changes and adjustments once they recognize that you may not need a man to financially support you, but in order for you to be in a relationship with a man, you need that man to be in that relationship, and you need to put effort into that man's happiness in your relationship in order for your relationship to be successful. So I appreciate the likes. These are the things that we have been trying to spread across a lot of different platforms, because the single men and even the men that are in relationships, the single men that deserve a girlfriend, that deserve a wife, have the ability. Make sure that you guys follow us on the platform, because I see you throwing likes. Make sure that you guys follow us on TikTok. We're trying to break some goals here, but the most important part about this situation is that we have to remember that in our social interactions, we're trying to match with somebody that is going to approve of our happiness, that is going to approve of our ability to be successful. And those people are the people that we are encouraging to literally come in and link with us and match with us and be the partners that we want them to be. And in the Gen Z era, we're going to have a lot more of a requirement as men even to find a financially suitable partner, because in the United States, if you're not making 100,000 by yourself, you and your partner both got to be making close to 50 in order to survive comfortably. Standards of living is going up. And while the standards of living is going up, living comfortably is going up. And while living comfortably is going up, the expectations to succeed in a less structured, less stressful, structured environment, your expectation to get it in is going to be tougher. So partnering with somebody that you get along with, partnering with somebody that'll prioritize you, that's not going to fuck up the rotation intentionally and waste all the money and throw things away, that is going to make things a lot less difficult for your success and your partner's success. And that's one of the things that we try to push. That's one of the things that we try to lean on heavily on the podcast. So take this into consideration while we're talking to you guys, and really think about this, because even the older women are still suitable candidates for a man that is looking for companionship. But the women that are more suited for companionship are women that are more willing to cooperate with the companionship of the man. So when the women are not willing to cooperate with the companionship of the man, that's when we start having those issues and those problems that are going to cause us to no longer want to be involved in these relationships. Now, there are men that stay in the relationship because we've invested a lot into the relationship. And we've invested a lot into the relationship because we have to invest in the first date. We have to invest in every date after the first date. We have to invest in the dating phase. We have to invest in everything up to the engagement. We have to invest a lot into the engagement ring. Then we have to invest a lot into the wedding. Then we have to sometimes invest in the honeymoon. And now we have to financially provide for the wife for the rest of our life. Now, since there's so much investment, if we're in the relationship phase, and we went from the first date, 10 dates in, and now we're looking at, where we're dating, and now we have a monthly subscription, a monthly membership to this girl that we have to entertain on a monthly basis. If the relationship goes rocky, it's a lot like having a membership issue with your gaming console. Because like all of the progress that you've made on this game, and now your membership is taking a dump and you can't do anything about it. You're trying your best to fix it because you don't want to lose your progress. That is how men are. Men do, they stick in these sometimes not so healthy relationships because they don't want to lose the progress that they made. They don't want to lose the investments that they made. And if women understand that men are playing for keeps in this dating game, and change their mentality from hookup cultures and friends with benefits and only dealing with the emotional attachments from guys in a friend zone that they're not interested in spending the rest of their lives with. If you do not establish a long-term positive relationship with your partner where the expectations are for dating to marry, dating for long-term companionship, if that is not both of y'all's goals, if it's just an in the moment scenario, y'all gotta have to rethink your positions, reassess your criteria, redefine your non-negotiable expectations for behavior, because until you do, you're going to be ending up in bad relationships. And they're not going to start off bad. They're always going to start off good, but they're going to end up becoming bad. And what will make those relationships bad is not because she's a bad person. It's not because he's a bad person. It's because your interests are not the same. And what's going to make it bad is that one person, rather it's the man or the woman, is going to start prioritizing their interest over the other person's interest, and the other person's interest will not be met. And when you're the person that's in a relationship and your needs are not being met, you have to be able to vocalize that your needs are not being met. And then your partner has to put forth extra effort to meet those needs. And if they're not showing you the interest of meeting those needs, then you're in a position where you have to decide, are you going to stay in a relationship where your non-negotiable expectations for behavior are not being met, or you're going to remove yourself from that relationship? Typically 10 to 30% of the time, men remove themselves from the relationship. Typically 70 to 90% of the time, women remove themselves from that relationship. So, ladies, it is your priority to find out if your man is happy on a regular basis. It is your priority to go and check in with your man and make sure that your man is getting everything that he needs out of this relationship. And why is it more the woman's priority to make sure that the man is satisfied than it is for the man's priority to make sure the woman's satisfied? Because men primarily try to make sure that women are satisfied. They find out what the woman wants. They ask a lot of the times. When they don't know, they ask, what do you want? What do you like? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And they build a census of, these are the things that she likes. These are the places she likes to go. These are the activities that she likes to do. And then they find ways to emphasize the things that you like and the things that you want to do and the places that you want to go. And if there's ever some place that you would like to go that you haven't been or that you want to go back to, and it takes a little bit of effort to get there, he will make it a point to put forth effort into making sure that you get there if you can. So since men are already doing this, that's why I'm going to tell you, ladies, that it is your priority to double check his satisfaction with your skill set as a girlfriend. It is your requirement to double check with his satisfaction of your ability to meet his needs. Because if you do not check with your partner to find out if they're happy in the relationship with you, you will be dating a man that'll be miserable and just sticking with you because he's already invested in you and he doesn't want to start over. He's not happy. You're not trying to make him happy. And he just isn't trying to complain a lot about his lack of happiness. But you can see his discontent. You can see it in his body language. You can see it in his dialogue. You can see it in his vocabulary. You can see it in his availability for time or his lack of availability for time. You can see it in his activity choices, where he chooses first to do something without you than he does to do something with you. Because he's not satisfied with what you're not bringing to the table. And especially if it's something that you was bringing to the table for, but you're not bringing it to the table now. For whatever reason why you're not bringing it to the table now, your value is diminished in the relationship because he got you for the things that you was doing. And now that you've gotten comfortable and you're not doing that anymore, your value has diminished. So think about this for a little bit, ladies. Think about this. I'm going to draw the show to an end now. I really appreciate you guys that are still coming in on YouTube. I see you, Red Void. I see you, Liberty Twitcher. I see you, Silly Emma. I appreciate you guys coming to see us on Twitch. So I got you, bro. I'm going to have you up there because I didn't get your name off of the show from yesterday, but I'm going to get it tonight off of the because our comments run twice. Our comments run twice. So the live comments run back through the show after the show airs as a post-recorded show. So I'll grab your profile and throw it up there to make sure that we give special thanks to you for not only following us on Twitch, but also following us on YouTube. We really appreciate that. Every like helps, every membership subscriber counts. It really appreciate it. It helps us make better quality content for you guys so that you guys can really enjoy the show, learn something from us while we're talking, and also have some social interactions. So what I want to say before I let you guys go, I want you guys to remember that we are live. Oh, real quick, because we are live every day of the week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. I also want to throw some special thanks out there to some of the states that are still showing us love, but also the countries that are showing us love. So in addition to Romania, we got the Philippines, Indonesia, Canada, Mexico, Africa, South Africa, Australia, Germany, India, the United Kingdom, Vietnam, and Russia that are showing us the most love in recent times. And we really appreciate you guys for sticking it out and supporting the podcast. We've had a few shifts, but the top 6 is alternating because the number 5th position is Illinois, and it changes out with California. I'm sorry, Georgia. So Illinois, Georgia, New York, Florida, California, and Texas, because California and Texas alternate for first place. We really appreciate you guys for showing us the most love in the United States. Beyond that, I want to just remind you guys that, we really appreciate y'all very much. And what we're going to do is we're going to sign out of TikTok first, because we signed into TikTok first. So, ladies, here on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, I really appreciate y'all. I'm going to tell y'all, look, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, make it make sense. And for the rest of you guys that are still following us on Twitch and YouTube, ladies, one of the reasons why I keep asking y'all to make it make sense is because since the men are already putting in as much effort as they possibly can for the success of the relationships, if the relationships don't make sense, ladies, you are the other half of that relationship. You need to make it make sense. That is why I ask you ladies to make it make sense. As a result, I am your host, Xander, for This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.